Yes, good afternoon, Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys, Dave and Jack, and special guests. We've got Ribsy from Down Under, we got Jose from the UK, and Donovan in from Canada as well, for Tottenham's most important game of the season, as our season hangs by a thread, and so does Postecoglou's future, many fans would argue, heading into tonight's second leg against AZ Alkmaar. Of course, we're 1-0 down and have a deficit to overturn, so the pressure is on. So just a bit about tonight's game for everybody. Of course, we are at home at the greatest stadium in world football, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Postecoglou has called for it to be a cauldron tonight, so we're going to find out what atmosphere to expect tonight. 8 p.m. is the kickoff. Referee is João Pinheiro from Portugal, along with VAR, Tiago Martins from Portugal as well. If you want to watch the game in the UK and Ireland, it is on TNT Sports. In the USA, Paramount Plus, and in Australia, it's on Stan Sport. And then injury news for Tottenham tonight. Dragison's still out. Richarlison, I think, is still out. Kulusevski is still out. Danzo is now out with a hamstring injury. And then Fraser, Forrester, Kinski, Reguilon, and Werner, of course, all ineligible, along with Bentancur suspended. And AZ Alkmaar is missing my nan, Van Bommel, Merdink, and Lado as well. So, big game tonight. Just quickly welcome a few people in, and we are going to crack on. Big up, Iceman. Great to see you as always. Hopefully you're keeping well. We also have AK Shakes in the house. Good to see you. We've got Del Support 14. Good to see you, buddy. One of the most important matches coming up tonight. Not sure if I can forgive them if they repeat the same performance as last week. I don't think anyone will, to be quite honest with you, Del. We've got Paul in the house. Says, evening, lads. Hope you're all well. We have to turn up tonight. Forget about last week. We have to go all out tonight. I want to see a thumping given out by Spurs tonight. No excuses. It's a must-win game. Absolutely spot on. Wilson T. Evening, chaps. Let's do this. Anyone here Poch on TalkSport earlier? No, I didn't. I'll go and have a listen to that later on. Finn Rickwood says, big up, chaps. Good to see you, Finn. Hopefully you're keeping well. We also got James in the house. Come on, you Spurs. Discipline, lads. We've got Slim Bike Tubbs, the Oxymoron. Big up one and all. Come on, you Spurs. Who else have we got here? We've got Tartan Spurs in the house. Naturally feeling the worst. But we will be there. Big up, Dave and Jack, and can't smile without the Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. That's true. Trinidad says the operative word tonight is courage for the lads this evening. Absolutely spot on there, Trinidad. Big up, Dennis. On your bike, Scott. Great to see you. We've also got Delboy in the house. Good afternoon, Dave and Jack on the panel. Let's hope that Muppet can get a tune out of the lads tonight, or he will be sacked. Look, I think his job will go tonight if we don't get the victory. Big up, Nick. Great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Foggy Form as well. Big up the panel and chat. After the Matters interview, he needs to back his chat and step up. Look, that guy's just an idiot. King Hoddle, good to see you. Not you, Foggy Form, by the way. James Mann, just to be clear, buddy. Big up, Eltal as well. Also, big up, Drew. Good to see you. I think you wanted to pop on as well for half an hour, Jack. If you could send Drew the link, he wants to pop on my Zoom.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Give us his quick thoughts. Big up, Mark McDermott. Good to see you as well. Also, we have Darren Johnson in the house. Great to see you, along with Niall O'Connor, Woodsy, and Shemi Tam in the house. Great to see everybody. Now, we are going to crack into it, guys. Of course, if you guys at home want to get involved, you can do that in a number of ways this evening. Just simply put your comments in the chat. We'll bring them up as we go along. If you enjoy the work, or there's talking points that you think we've missed, or something that we've missed and you really want to get in, feel free to make it a super chat. We can't miss that. We'll honor that, and we'll have a good say on that. Or, gift out channel memberships and run them likes up as well, which is free. So, look, we're going to crack on. We're going to go straight. We'll start with you, Ribsy, actually. First of all, long time since we've had you on. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back. I mean, the atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday was flat during the 2-2 draw with Bournemouth, which is understandable given the way the season has unfolded. However, Postecoglou has urged fans to get behind the team tonight, believing it will make a significant difference, much like it did for AZ Alkmaar last week. So the question is, with the mood around the place, what kind of atmosphere do we expect to see at the stadium tonight, Ribsy?
Well, honestly, I mean, I'm just going to be practical about it. Would you cheer for that first half that we played?
No.
Because there was nothing to cheer for. I'm sorry. I mean, I know that you should be, there should be noise in the crowd. There should be chanting and all that sort of stuff. But look, it's one thing to say that, the fans have to get behind the team, and I totally agree. And yes, I'm sure that they are. It's not like they're sitting there cheering against the team. But man, if we're going to be that sloppy, if we're going to misplace that many passes, if we're going to come out looking like we're half asleep, and it's not just for one match, we're used to seeing it. The players coming out looking not prepared for the match, like I'm sure they are physically, at least as much as you can, but seemingly not mentally, and then it taking them 45, 60 minutes sometimes to get into the match, and then suddenly we look good. I mean, what on earth's going on? Yeah, we'll cheer when they're playing football, when they're just arsing around. I'm not cheering for that. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I'll cheer for the team. I'm always going to support the team, but I don't blame the fans for not cheering for whatever the hell that was in the first half last week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, no, I think many people would sort of agree with that, Jack. Support, like some like me and you have always argued that support is earned and not just blindly given, and that it's up to the team to actually give fans something to get behind, a bit like what Ribsy is saying. Do you think the fans are justified in their lack of energy at home matches, or should they always back the team no matter circumstances? Because there's also that sort of narrative out there, right? That it doesn't matter what's going on this season, you should just sort of blindly get behind the team, Jack.
I mean, it's just like with anything in life. Like if you're nervous, like you're not necessarily going to just be blindly, I think I just screaming, for every single moment or anything like that. Anything in life. I can imagine, even just going into a job interview or, just any situation where you might be a little unsure, might be a little nervous. You won't be the guy that's maybe necessarily the loudest in the room. You might be a little bit more reserved. You're kind of going to be in your own head to some degree. Dave and I did go to the AC Milan match, just a couple of years ago when I think a kind of similar situation where it felt like maybe the manager was just a loss or two, away from being out the door to some degree. And there was kind of an eerie vibe. I remember when Dave and I were there for the AC Milan match, like from the get-go, like people were just kind of like, oh, hey, how are you? But it wasn't like, people were already just, kind of happy clapping and just, pumping loud, for the game. There was like this sense of kind of just nerves, around just the fan base. And I think that's just natural. It's just, what you're feeling and what's in your head to a degree will kind of reflect in your own kind of energy levels and your own kind of body language to some extent. That being said, I do feel like for the massive games like this one, you do, in the best of your ability, I think you can try to sort of think more. I said it, on the predicted lineup, think more with your heart instead of your head. Just yesterday, Dave and I, we were giving our real honest opinions about how we feel about this game and, our own nerves about it. But I think the moment that the ball is kicked, you got to try your best, to just sort of think more with your head, or with your heart, sorry, and be the best happy clapper you can be to some extent. But like Ribsy said, I really don't blame people for having that sense of nerves or having that sense of anxiety, because there's not a whole lot of great football that we watched recently that would give you that sense that, Spurs are going to be able to dominate this AZ team. There isn't a whole lot of evidence to support it. So I think, try your best if you're going to the game to manifest a good atmosphere. But Dave, I mean, the good example was when you and I went to the AC Milan game, right? I mean, is my memory correct in that? There was a bit of a nervy vibe, from everybody, going into that game.
Yeah, there was a bit of a nervous vibe going into that game. Look, I get what Ange Postecoglou was saying to a degree. Like it's all well and good him and the players coming out and asking for fans to generate a raucous atmosphere. But that naturally just comes if you're winning games. If you're not winning games, you don't have to sit there and ask for it. At the end of the day, I think what they fail to realize is, regardless, fans are still turning up to watch the games. They're still filling out the stadium. Us worldwide fans, we're all still piling in front of our TVs to watch every single game. We haven't given up supporting, but we are questioning, has people inside the club given up playing, given up winning? 19 losses this season. I think we've won 5 home games all year. Can't even reach 10 Premier League wins, in the Premier League this year. And home is supposed to be your fortress. Imagine being them people rocking up week in, week out, seeing the exact same shit, and then you're still being told, get behind us, sing loud and proud, etc., etc. I mean, at some point, when does it become on the players and the team to give the fans something to get behind?
Yeah.
But I'd also argue, you look at the club, fans have done their part. They've tried to get in contact with the club. There's been many various different groups out there that have been trying to get in contact with the club to help generate the atmosphere before these sort of games. And the club have also pushed back on it at every opportunity. You look at Man United tonight, and, their fans have organised, pyros, big tifos, and the music's being shut off 15 minutes before the game to allow the atmosphere to generate. This is stuff that Spurs fans have been trying to get in contact with the board to try and be allowed to do. And they don't want to do it. They have their own ways that they want to do it. So, again, I think, when you've got fan groups trying to generate atmosphere, I think, again, players and Postecoglou, rather than having to go at the fans, or not having to go at fans, but asking the fans for support. How about I'm going to speak to Daniel Levy and tell them to, help with the fans that are trying to generate the noise and stuff like that. So that's where I get a bit of butthurt when they're continuously, asking for good atmospheres. It's like, yeah, okay, but then we demand good performances. It's as simple as. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But anyway, Donovan, down to you, my man. I mean, Postecoglou has mentioned the atmosphere will play a crucial role tonight. I mean, is that an old cliche? Is what I'm basically want to ask you, Donovan. Is that an old cliche that the fans do have a massive part to play and can help sort of regenerate the team, get the team going and get the team performing? Or is it simply an overused cliche? Or is it
Hey,
true? Sorry.
hey, welcome, Dave. Thanks for having me in here. Jack, Rebsy, good to see you. Yeah, it's cliche, but cliche for a reason. Like I told my players too, and the rivalry. There's level to this. There's levels to this game. Like they're celebrating a draw, and we're thinking we drop points. Like they think they have a really good home stadium, like really good atmosphere in the Eredivisie, and fair enough, good Dutch football. Like I've heard it compared to upper level championship football, and I don't want to disrespect us, but that's kind of where we're at too. So it just seems to me it'll be a good head clash. And so when Postecoglou comes out in the media and says home's going to be a big advantage for us, while he's talking about our infrastructure, and he's going to talk about the potential of that stadium and how raucous it can be, and how there are certain nights in the last 3 or 4 years of that stadium that stood out in memory and that have been rooted in history and have yielded some pretty crazy results, like that Arteta team coming and getting absolutely brutalized, as Gary Neville so famously put, and that's going to go down in history, right? So certain results. So hopefully this is one of those results. You can't always look at a glass half full. You have to look at the facts here, and the fact that it boils down to this. It's like you left the pot on too long in the kitchen and it burnt, and then all the water's evaporated and it's burnt and scorched, and it's like, okay, well, you can save it or just throw the fucking thing out, right? And so that's where we're at right now. And I can't believe it's come down to this game. I really can't. But yeah, I wish he'd be less prickly about it. I wish wouldn't be so abrasive about it. It was really cringy almost watching him for the first two questions. And we know he's that guy, but now it's like he's in his head, right? Now it's like he's like, everyone's against me, It's like, and how awkward is it for Vicario to have to be put up there beside him, right? And it's like, why are you so abrasive, man? Like, it's like, can you just chill for a second? Like, can you just like, because everyone's been that guy in the room with a friend, or been the guy or someone around that person where it's like, hey, just just chill, man, and that's the face of our club right now, unfortunately, on a downward spiral. And yeah, that's all. I'm gonna leave it at that.
An intense atmosphere, Dave, does two things. Like, it can give you that adrenaline as a player. Like, you might be running 2 times faster. You might be running even harder because you just have the crowd and the momentum behind you. If they're cheering you on, you might close someone down even more intensely. You might put in, an even better challenge, to sort of send a message to the opposition. It can really motivate you, especially for like the opening minutes, right? But then also, I think it actually does a better thing where it can really intimidate, the opposition crowd, to some extent. Like, just yesterday, right? I was talking to Ribsy about it. Like, the Atletico crowd was insane against Real Madrid. Like, they looked rattled, and that was Real Madrid. World-class players who have played, in really high-level atmospheres, really high-level pressure and intensity. They looked rocked, by that sort of just constant noise. Simeone constantly pumping up the crowd. Every single challenge, that Atletico were putting in were just so, kind of intense, and it was really, I think really rattling those Real Madrid players. So it can do that. Even I remember when I played basketball, there was a team that we would go to play like over in the remote islands somewhere in Washington, and this town, they had nothing to do for the whole year except they would look for this one game against, kind of the city kids of Seattle. And, when we would score the first few points, they would kind of be waiting for their team to score. And the moment that they would score, the whole, gym would just erupt. Yeah. And then I remember all of us would all of a sudden, kind of just, we weren't really able to complete passes, or we were kind of, finding it hard to hear each other and, things like that. And it causes mistakes, and it causes you also just yourself to be more nervous. So I think it does two things. It gives you that adrenaline as a player, but then it also can rattle the opposition into making mistakes, or, just being a bit more nervy themselves. So it plays it is a cliche, but it does play an important part for sure.
No, look, I fully get you. I do think it can encourage the team on. But I also think it is up to the team to use that encouragement 100%. and push forward and keep that crowd and that atmosphere behind them. Because if the fans do generate a massive atmosphere right at the start of kickoff, and then we come out and we're playing slow football, side-to-side football, all knowing we need a goal. That's going to suck the atmosphere right out of the place, because it's something that we've seen time and time again. If there's a loud, raucous atmosphere, it's well and good asking for it, but if the fans deliver, then you better deliver on the football pitch. You better start going forward, putting balls in the box, taking shots, good intricate play, and you better show a better attitude than what you did last week. At the end of the day, if you went out there with a proper attitude last week, you wouldn't have to be asking for a good atmosphere today, and it's that simple. Adrian Chia says, we have a Mario Kart track underneath our pitch. So much for Levy caring about our stadium atmosphere. Do you know what, in terms of the stadium, look, in the way it was built, you know, with that big stand, like the Dortmund stand, that was purposely built to try and generate, you know, a large noise behind the team. But also the acoustic paneling putting in around the stadium to try and help echo it back into the stadium and stuff like that. When the stadium was built, we did put a lot of effort into all these little things to try and help with the atmosphere. It's a lot of modern new stadiums are trying to go down that route as well, and off the back of what we've done for ours. So credit to the guy. You know, he done everything in the build he could. But then he doesn't follow it up after that. You know, fans are trying to generate it. They're trying to say, look, for big European nights, cut the music 5-10 minutes before kickoff. Let the fans, you know,
100%.
take the lead. And they don't want to do it. They want to play the music. They want to bring the trumpet out. I mean, they're short of bringing me out on the triangle next year playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely embarrassing. Just work with the fans on that. If you're going to put all the effort and all the money in and the infrastructure into the stadium to help maximize the sound that the fans make, then help the fans make that noise. Then that's my whole point on that one. But big up Adrian Tria. But
Can I jump in there for a second?
Huh?
It's funny how you have this acoustic, but you use it to drown them out when they actually do make a protest at the end of that last season, where Lucas Moura does his famous lap of honor, and everybody's booing because there's no reason to celebrate at the end of the season, and they just crank up the volume to max 10, max 12, and use the amazing acoustics at that stadium and just drown out everything. So just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, big up Adrian Chia. Really appreciate support. And by the way, how are you and the family keeping, my man? Long time no see. Hopefully you're keeping well.
Big up, Adrian.
Look, we'll kick on with you, Jose, and we'll move on from the atmosphere. We'll before we butcher it to death. Young-Min Son has highlighted that Tottenham have been consistently sloppy in the early stages of matches, which has been a major issue this season. I mean, you go back to the Brentford game, we conceded very early on. The Arsenal game, we nearly went 1-0 down very early on. There's been many more games like it, you know, Bournemouth the other day, for instance. So it's been a continuous pattern a lot of times this season. So what do you think is behind these slow starts, Jose? Is it a tactical issue? Is it a lack of preparation from the management team? Or do the players' individual mentality and lack of motivation need to be questioned here?
I think, I mean, why it's happening, I don't know, but it should never, ever be happening is what I will say, because, you know, at the end of the day, these people are professional footballers. They should be motivated for all games. You'd like to think that the management, coaching staff, or whoever give a... Yeah,
in an ideal world, you'd like to think everything's perfect, but it's clearly not. So what do you think the problem is?
But what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is that, right, you asked me, so, right, players should be motivated enough anyway. They should be up for a game right at the start, regardless of whether they have a chat just before they go out, or whether the manager has to have a chat, or the coach, or a player leads the chat before they go out on the pitch. You should be ready for when you're out on that pitch. Now, why it's not happening, I don't know. But we're getting, like last Thursday, the interview that Sonny did after the game and the interview that Ange did after the game. You could have picked that interview, and I think I must have said this before. You can pick them interviews up and you can put them to other games previously this season, and it's the same. What was I going to say? Same excuse is being used. Oh yeah, we started off really slowly, but you know what? We're going to learn for next time. That's what that's what your captain's saying. He's rinsing and repeating and saying the same message over and over again. Postecoglou, yeah, we didn't start great. We weren't at it from the start, and you think to yourself, well, I could have cut that out, and I could have put that into other games of season as well. Why it's happening, I don't know, because playing football, it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. It's a team sport. So you go out as 11 players and you expect all 11 players to be ready to go out and battle for each other. And so it's unless they're getting into their huddle and they're saying, "Oh, we don't fancy this." I don't know what they say in the huddle, but you know, whatever it is, it's not. We haven't started well. I can't remember the last time that we started a game brightly and on the front foot. It seems to be that as soon as we have the kickoff, we let the opponents have the ball and let them attack us. And this is home and away, by the way. It's not just away that this happens. It happens at home as well. We just let the other team have the ball and we just like, do you know what? We'll soak it up. But it's not soaking it up for 1 minute or 2 minutes. We're soaking it up for 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes we're not waking up till the second half.
Yeah.
Now, this is a thing. This has to be on the players. It has to be on the manager, and it has to be on the coaching staff. To collectively, something's not right because they're not on the front foot when they come out.
Yeah. Do you know what? For me, I think it's a mentality issue in and around the club. I think, look, I don't blame any of the managers. You know, you've had Jose Mourinho, you have Conte, you've had Nuno here, all proven to be very good managers in their own right. You know, I remember we used to start games slow underneath Conte, and people blamed the amount that Conte made them run in their pre-game warm-up, you know, going up to the game, that they were too tired going into games and stuff like that. For me, I actually think it comes down to mentality. When you've got numerous people, whether it's staff, whether it's management, whether it's players leaving this football club, and saying that there's no desire or no hunger, you know, to passion to win inside the club. It's sort of okay if you lose games. I mean, do we wonder why we start games off slow? There's no collective, we're being told, there's no collective, you know, hunger there between everybody to really go for something. And when you don't have that collectiveness to really push for a trophy, you don't have that end goal and everyone's buying into it. You see this, like, for instance, in the Bournemouth game, Ricky was going mad on Sky Sports. You know, James Maddison and Sonny not in the starting lineup. What are they doing while everyone's getting warmed up? Rolling around, pretend we got an injury, doing this to the bench and everything else. That's your captain and your vice captain, by the way. I mean, that's absolutely disgraceful. And we wonder why we're going into these games, starting games slow, being sluggish, everything else. You know, for me, the hardest thing to change at this football club is mentality. And I think everyone's hoping that the manager can come in and change the mentality of the football club. But unfortunately, the guy can't do it on his own. Other people inside the football club have to have that mentality, and you can hopefully bring the manager in to sort of push it over the line. But that has to come from the top. He has to set the standard that if you're not winning games of football, you're bounced out of here, so that the players don't get into that comfort zone. Because you see it time and time again. You know, we can sit here and say we've changed squad. Then why is the same shit happening? Why are we still seeing players show up one day and not showing up the next day? No consistency to what we're doing. Because they can sit there and talk about trophies all they want, but realistically, there's no pressure on them to win. They know if they don't perform, they're still going to see out their contract here, the 4 or 5 year contracts. There's no pressure on them whatsoever. So for me, it's a mentality that really needs to change at the football club. You know, and I don't think it's just an individual manager problem. You know, I think it's inherent at this football club, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been something that's been there a while. You're quite right, Dave. It's you come to Tottenham Hotspur, there's no pressure, there's no aspiration there, if you like, that's set to you when you come, and therefore we, from the outside looking in, we're going to think to ourselves, because this continues, the players and whoever comes to the club just get an easy ride, because there's who are you following off? Who's leading it? Who are you following off? Because if the players, you know, they're not at it and they don't care, then who's leading the team? What players leading the team? You know, at the end of the day, you've got to have standards. And if the standards are not set from early doors, then you're going to have these problems. We've had this problem for years, you're quite right. But I believe it's been more prevalent this season, because more often than not, I'd say for at least the last 3.5, 4 months, it's been an issue. Maybe the first few games in August, September, it wasn't. But certainly from October onwards, as far as I'm concerned, it's been an issue. So it's as if, you know, the sun, it's getting darker at night now. You know, something's happened in the weather, and all of a sudden we switch and we change and we revert back to type.
Yeah. No, we really need a change of mentality inside the club. Anyone else want to come in on that before we welcome Drew in?
No. Let's bring in the Drew Meister.
Good afternoon, Drew. How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Pretty optimistic, actually. Looking forward to it. I've just been listening to you boys. I'll tell you the one thing that I think, you know, if you take a little step back and you look at the 30,000 foot view of everything that's happened, I mean, I don't know, we keep on waffling on about it and people are getting tired of the same old sort of rhetoric. I get that. But this guy, I mean, the adversity, I feel like he's had to put up with. I mean, you know, we go back to losing Harry Kane. The fact that he's had the balls to move out players that other managers were quite happy to just let stay and earn a living at the club, right? He's, you know, Mourinho stepped in and then a couple of players, but for the most part, he was happy to, you know, piggyback on the players that Pochettino had for the most part, and then Conte was happy to do the same. I mean, this guy's come in, he's seen over 35 players come in and out of the club. I mean, you talk about slow starts, but I mean, even for the last 4 or 5 games, like I touched on the other day when we were chatting, 60 appearances between Vicario, Udogie, Archie Gray, Jed Spence, and Kevin Danzo. 60
So you putting the slow
appearances.
starts then down to, you know, the constant change in personnel all the
Yeah,
time.
it's like patterns of
I
play.
agree that
Like,
some of that would contribute. I agree.
well, I think not only that, Dave. I think the problem is because we suffered with the injuries last season, and you know the season tailed off, and then we've gone into this season. We've already talked about the club, you know, not really preparing the squad to the level that they could have done.
Yeah,
we've already talked about the fact that you've got players that are arguably, you know, with all due respect, relegation fodder, people that have not played European football, at least not recently.
yeah.
You know, so like all of these things, and you know, the thing that I find kind of frustrating and bemusing and amusing all at the same time is that you can have these conversations with people, like, you know, and you like the whole Jed Spence thing. He wasn't used enough at the beginning of the season, blah 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 blah. And then you can have a rational conversation with said person about it and say, well, you know, he was kind of sprinkled in and then he got an injury. And then when he came back from the injury, he was kind of, you know, integrated in. And by the way, Ange is the first manager in how many managers to actually get a tune out of the kid. And, you know, there's something to be said for meritocracy at the very beginning of the season with everything you don't know about Jed Spence. And you're going to let him play before Pedro Porro, who is arguably your designated right back, you know, starting right back. So there's just, you know, you forget about things like that. And then the person you're speaking to goes, well, yeah, no, you make some good points. Yeah, I get that. And then they'll go on to another stream and complain that Jed Spence wasn't used at the beginning of the season. You're just like, well, I just had a conversation with you and you just agreed that actually, in hindsight, retrospectively, he's probably done more for Jed Spence, arguably, than any of our last 2 or 3 managers or the manager in Italy. So I just think there are so many narratives that, you know, people pick and choose what they want to, you know, there are so many people that you don't see them in chat rooms. You don't see them during the match until we go a goal down. And then all of a sudden these names start appearing in the chat. It's, oh, told you so. And I just think there's a portion of our fan base, unfortunately, that just want this guy to fail regardless. Like, I've seen it. They would rather us lose tonight and then him be gone rather than us actually progress and have a chance of winning a cup. And I just find it absolutely baffling. So just in that regard, like, just because, like, I can see that, it's clear as the nose on my face. So you imagine this guy who sits in a press conference and has to argue his point over and over and over again and listen to these questions from these journos, like, you know, something ridiculous the other day in the last one, like, do you know, something along the lines of, do you think if these guys had played more, they'd be more cohesive as a unit? Well, fuck me. Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you think? Like, it just beggars belief.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I just think I need to, from my point of view, my perspective, optimistic about tonight, and I feel like I need to back the guy almost because I feel like there are so many that aren't. Like, I'm at that point now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, look, that's absolutely fair enough. And I think you do make a good point, you know, the lack of, you know, especially across the back line and the forward line. I would say the midfield, we haven't really been too decimated this season on that front. I think the forward line, the back line, and the goalkeeper, certainly. And I think, you know, to a degree, I do think not being able to select the same team for most games, you know, will play a part in it. But I stick by the mentality at the football club. You know, when you have Harry Kane leaving, Conte leaving, Jose leaving, all saying the same things, that the mentality just isn't right within the club. You know, I do think that is the bigger problem. But I do take your point into consideration. You're absolutely spot on. That's how partnerships are formed. That's how cohesiveness is formed. That's how you end up playing really sexy football, by having these players working with each other, and talking to each other and stuff like that. You are absolutely spot on. I mean, look, over to you, Ribsy. Look, tonight is absolutely crucial, and it's crucial that we break the pattern of sluggish starts and come out strong, taking the game to AZ Alkmaar and creating early chances, especially with the fragile atmosphere and the risk of frustrations boiling over if we don't, which could make it harder for the players at the end of the day. After Tottenham's disappointment performance in the first leg against AZ Alkmaar, how confident or concerned are you about our ability to perform under pressure in the second leg of the Europa League and turn the tie around? Because we've been here before. Patros de Ferreira didn't get the job done. Over 2 legs we did, but we didn't. We lost out there. At NS Moore, we end up losing. Dynamo Zagreb is a famous one. The manager was locked up in prison. We still got knocked out. I mean, do you trust this team's ability to be able to perform under pressure, Ribsy? Well, I don't think many do, Despite many people saying we've got a good squad, I guarantee you most people do not back this team to turn up tonight.
Oh, it's very much a do or die sort of situation. I feel. I mean, how can we continue on in the same vein that we have? I mean, I give a lot of slack to Ange in terms of the time with the injuries and everything, but by and large, that's mostly over now. There's been decent rest between matches for the past few, and it's not for the first time after that 8-day break that we looked worse after the break than we did with the tighter fixture schedule. Ange, it seems, he's one of those managers that tries to get that siege mentality sort of thing going on, and I think that by and large does work for him, but that seems to work better the more pressure they're under, as opposed to when they finally get a little bit of a valve release and then suddenly, they don't quite have the edge that they did. Not that they've had a huge amount of edge either, because the results just haven't been there this season. In terms of mentality and everything, I think if at some point this season they'd got a few wins and started to get a bit of a streak going, got a bit of form going, it could have been okay. In terms of what I'm expecting out of this match, though, and can we turn it around? Look, AZ were crap. They were crap. We were just worse. That was it was an own goal. It was just a poor result from us, and I genuinely think that we can do a job here tonight. And I don't think that I believe any of the talk that the players are unhappy on the pitch. Everything you hear from the camp sounds united. I mean, it could be that in the background they're all on holiday already and decided the season's over and they don't give a crap. But I don't believe that. I really do think that these guys, they want to get this going. And that whole, it just seems to come down to how loose we are at the back, and having Van de Ven back, if he is back tonight, it just seems is mandatory to the way we play at the moment. I don't think that was true initially. When you look at last season, there was something different about the way we were playing. I don't know enough about it to give you the exact reasons why it seemed to work better. But I think we've got enough there tonight. There's no excuse for us to not be able to win this match, especially at home. So look, we can do it. I'm trying to be positive about it because I'm terrified. But
I agree with you, though, Ribsy. I think, there's been games this year, United, Man City, Aston Villa, West Ham, where we have shown up. We've proven the ability that we can go and put in a great performance and be fun to watch and go and score goals. Just the problem is we haven't really been able to back it up, week in, week out, game in, game out. It's very few and far in between. And the reality is it's been a while since we last saw one of them. I know you could point back to Ipswich, but that should be routine enough. What happened in the first game against Ipswich should never have happened, especially at home. But, I do think, we have the quality on the night, But I just wonder, are the players up for it? And the reason why I think I'm very entitled to sort of question that is because you go back to AZ Alkmaar last week, they had 8 days off. They had 8 days before that game.
Yeah.
You know, some of them used it to go off, you know, skiing and shit like that, even though we've got loads of injuries and stuff. And I just question, where's the hunger to win? You know, everyone sits there and says, if Son doesn't win a trophy at Tottenham, it's Tottenham's fault. But nights like the other night where Son was just absolutely MIA, that's not on Tottenham, that's on him. You know, and I do think, you know, I do question these players, you know, because when you're losing games and when you've lost 19 the way we have this season or 18, whatever it is, that takes its toll on the squad. That takes its toll on your confidence. And I just question our ability to be able to just get ourselves up for tonight's game, you know, with the confidence being at absolutely rock bottom. It's a very hard thing to do in a team sport, is just to pick that up and go out. Because like we like to think, oh, forget about last week, just go out there and perform. And it doesn't work like that in a team game. Once you've been bet, constantly you're trying to work on improvements. It's being drilled into you all week, you know, what you've done wrong, how you've been bet. And that then it takes its effect on your psyche, you know, to a large degree. So I just wonder about our ability to be able to pick ourselves up tonight and really put in that performance that we need. Brad Farr says, do you agree Maddison can be a hero or a villain? Look, I think he's both, to be quite frank, and that's my whole problem with him, you know. I think Maddison can be a very, very good player, but again, I'm just not sure he does everything right to ever see that sort of continuity on the pitch, you know, that doing it week in, week out. You know, when you see him off at the likes of the darts and shit like that, getting onto planes with special pillows, even though everyone else is getting on normally and stuff like that. I mean, for me, I just question, you know, does he do everything to get himself right on the football pitch to be able to bring that consistency to his game? Like that interview I listened to Sky Sports, I mean, absolutely disgraceful, by the way. You know, he brings it. He wasn't even asked about any names. He brought in Bergvall and Gray for no reason. I think, you know, he's like, I'm happy to be the scapegoat and take the heat for these guys. It's like, you dumbass. These guys are the guys that the fans are behind. These guys are the ones that have stepped up this season. You absolute dumbass. The whole point is, you don't need to do that for them because they perform week in, week out. You don't. That's why you're being pulled out. And you're only being pulled out by your peers, by people, pundits who have been there, who have done it, and who have brought that consistency to the game, won trophies. So I think instead of walking around after scoring one goal and silencing them, and what has he done since, by the way, you know, listen to them, learn from them. You know, I just think the guy's got an ego, and I think it's look. Me personally, I'll give Maddison next season. If I don't see consistency next season, I want him bounced out the door, and I want someone else brought in. To be quite frank with you, but that's my problem with him. He's just honestly, I hear more of this than what I do see performances, and that's a big problem for me. We've got Super Spurs TV says, if Carlsberg dig panels, big up lads. Hope everyone in the chat is great too. Time to push all the issues to one side and get a big win tonight. 3-1. Come on, you Spurs. Really appreciate that, my man. Hopefully, I know you said you were going to get around to doing some content yourself. Hopefully, you know, you get around to doing that. If you ever need anything, just don't be afraid to reach out. I'm pretty sure we're in a group chat or two together. You know, you can grab my number from there, Blaine. But really appreciate it. Look, I think I speak for everyone tonight. We all want Tottenham Hotspur to win. We all want to sort of go and win this Europa League. You know, no one wants to be in times like this where we're depressed, angry at the football club, you know, questioning everything the football club is doing, questioning everyone inside the football club. It's not what we want to do as fans. It's not what we want to do as supporters. We want to be able to rally behind that team, walk around, cock of the walk, cock around the chest. Anyone that says anything to us, like, shut up, what have you won? That's what we want to do at the end of the day. But every season ends in absolutely turmoil since Pochettino. I've just had enough of it, Blaine. You need to get things sorted out so we can really move forward, my man. But we are hoping for the big win tonight. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Blaine. And then we also have Dermatron in the house. Big up, guys. Spurs win tonight, 4-0. We will rise. We will win. We are Tottenham Hotspur. Don't ever forget who we are. We are the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. Look, we are a mighty club. You know, we've look, from my lifetime, you know, I was saying this to Jack yesterday, from where we were, you know, when I was supporting Tottenham, we were a mid-table team, and I was hoping to get a cup run. I want European football next season. I spent my whole childhood taking abuse off every other fan of every other club around me, just wishing, give me European nights. And I've had a great run, under Pochettino to the Champions League final, and he set the standards. And I can't lower my standards. Today, I still think we're at that standard. And that's probably my fault, but I want to get back there, and I want to keep European football for next season. I want to get through. So big up, Dermotron. Big yourself up, my man. Jack, just over to you, my man. And then we're going to start, maybe we'll all have a little bit of a say on Postecoglou's future. But just before we do, Jack, Postecoglou has said the teams can still turn things around. He still believes that we can do that tonight in the second leg. What adjustments, if any, do you think, though, the manager needs to make to improve the performance and give Tottenham a better chance of progression?
I think he has to pick the right 11. First of all, I don't want to, encroach too much on that conversation, Dave, but I do feel like, some of the maybe players that he had picked in the first leg, specifically on the right wing, maybe weren't the right options. And then also when you look at his own in-game management in the last game, right, he took off Son and Madison. Sonny, of course, wasn't really performing, I think, in that game. So maybe to a degree that was justified. But he did take off his best players in theory and his most creative players in theory to try to chase a game and to try to chase a goal there. And personally, I think that was a huge mistake by Ange Postecoglou. Really, you can't be taking off your most creative player if you're actually looking to grab a goal and then leave on someone like Brennan Johnson, who is only capable of scoring a goal if it's created for him. But in that game, Dave, we were saying against AZ Alkmaar, what did we actually create? Like quarter, chances, half chances, if anything, really at all. Our only shot
Didn't
on
hit
target.
the target till 88 minutes until Udeberg cross come shot.
Till Udeberg just said F it, and just sort of, had a shot from distance. And that was probably our best moment of the game, really. So I think a lot of it is going to come down to the 11 that Ange Postecoglou picks, and then also the in-game management from which players he thinks he needs to take off and which ones he needs to bring on. I did my predicted lineup, and I went for what I think Ange will go for. There's some disappointments, from some of the people in the comment, some of the players I selected.
Yeah, I was reading them today. They weren't too kind on you.
No, I think I don't know if they were unkind to me. I think they were just, sad, to see how honest I was with what I think Ange would go for this game, judging off what I've seen from him so far. So Dave, for me, to answer the question, it's really about which players he picks and which ones he'll end up, subbing out, which ones he'll end up bringing on. Because we all know this. He's not really going to probably change too much, about this game tactically. He has to chase a goal. It's not like he's going to be sitting back or anything like that. It's not like he's going to try to play a mid block or a low block of any kind. It's about, sort of his brand of football for this game. And to a degree, he's an attack-minded manager. He's a progressive manager. He wants, to have domination of the ball. He wants to be inside, the opponent's half for the majority of the game. If he's able to pull that off tonight, that's kind of what we need. We need to be full domination of this AZ side. So hopefully, his tactics, kind of don't really change actually too much for this game. But it's really, I think, more about the personnel that he ends up picking for it, and it's about the players that he ends up bringing on later in the game.
Yeah, I fully agree. But I fully agree with you. I think, look, he's in a bit of a precarious position tonight to a degree. It's sort of like there's combinations that he does usually pick, Johnson, Porro, that just doesn't work down that right-hand side. Does he go bold? Does he make a decision to change that up tonight? The midfield, which we're going to get onto in just a bit, the different combinations he keeps picking in there. Is he going to pick one that's been a winning form, or is he going to pick one that's lost us a lot of games? I think you're absolutely spot on. Centre-backs, both very rusty. What does he do there tonight? Does he bring Archie Gray in to have one player that's not as rusty? I mean, he's got a big headache in terms of team selection, but I would argue it's a headache he's been praying for all season, having these options available to him. So I absolutely agree with you, Jack. Now it's about picking the right team.
Because I don't think he's going to change much tactically, is he, Dave? Right? And I don't think he should. I think he should go for his brand of football tonight. He should go for his brand of football tonight.
Well, look, I'm a firm believer, Jack. You live by the way you play and you die by the way you play. I think once you start changing up, people start losing belief and buy-in and stuff like that, especially when you're not winning games and you change it. So, and look, from what we've come to expect from Postecoglou, he's not going to change it, Many people call him stubborn. I think he should die on his sword tonight. If that's the way he wants to play, die on it, because, we may not appreciate it here, but I can guarantee you go somewhere else and they'll appreciate it. Skunkwork says, have to disagree with general statement. We have quality. We have purple patch and unproven players. If we want to use the word quality, look at the Villa and Asensio. That's what quality looks like. No, look, absolutely agree. What I mean by quality is, like, on their day, Son can have a good game. On their day, Madison can have a good game. On his day, Sarr can have a bit of an effect going forward, So that's what I mean. But I genuinely do agree with you in terms of transfer windows. And, that's the thing, people mention like Seviriola, Emery, people like that, but look at the backing they get. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you give our managers that sort of backing, we might not be sitting here calling for other people's managers at the end of the day. Absolutely agree with that's going to work. Look, guys, let's have a sort of just a general open discussion on Postecoglou's future. And we'll start with the bottom of the half of the panel, work our way back up to Ribsy. I mean, look, many fans have said coming into this game, if we don't win today, they want him gone tomorrow. Do you guys feel the same down there? I mean, do you sort of have a difference of opinion? Do you think he's going to see the rest of the season even if we do lose tonight? I mean, what's your thoughts on Postecoglou's future? Because look, to be honest, I actually don't like having a discussion on anybody's future unless it's a player that's played 200k a week and not performing. I think that's fair. They're getting paid a substantial amount of money. But I don't really like anybody getting sacked or calling for anybody to get sacked and stuff like that because the repercussions it can have. But look, unfortunately, it's a discussion we have to have today. If we don't win, I just have a feeling the club are going to sack him. I don't see the point of keeping him on for the last 10 games of the season if they're not going to keep him here next season. It's absolutely pointless. So unfortunately, it's a discussion we have to have. Look, Donovan, let me start with you.
Yeah, no, actually, I was just going to pass that to Jose, man. I'll give the respect to Jose, and I'll come in after and see what he has to say. I'll have a think about it. I'm a thinker. I like to think and like just kind of because like I wasn't expected put on the spot here. I didn't realize we were chopping block time, but I guess my prelude into this conversation was, hey, it all come down to this game. So Jose, take it away, man.
Right, for me, the position that we're in and the football that we've played and everything, it's not down to one person. I blame different facets of the club, and I have done. I don't blame. I mean, everyone's got to take their piece of the cane here, so to speak. And my only piece of the cane for Ange Postecoglou is that when we had the injuries, he didn't rotate. And where I mean he didn't rotate, I'm going to start with Dorrington. Dorrington only played half an hour against Southampton. So for centre halves, let's say, if he had played Dorrington for 5 or 10 minutes each game, even if he came up with 5-10 minutes, it means that you're resting somebody. You're giving somebody else minutes. You're taking minutes away from someone, and you can rotate 5 or 10 minutes. Ajay, Oluwaseyi, Mikey Moore. I don't feel that these players are in and around the squad. They should have been given far more, another 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Take the burden away. Someone like Kulusevski was playing every minute that God gave. And we could all see that he was absolutely flogged and dead on his feet. And 2, we knew an injury was coming. And that didn't have to happen if we'd used other players. And so for that reason alone, I think Ange said, yeah, but I can't rotate. You can rotate, but you've chosen not to. I think the players have got to take a bit of blame on this as well, because quite frankly, I'm not one of them in the camp that says that we've got a good squad. I don't believe we have. I think we're carrying a lot of dead rubber. I think we're carrying a lot of excess. And I think, and the only problem is that with carrying excess, knowing the club that we've got, is 1, it's hard to get rid of the excess, and 2, we don't normally backfill. We was obviously very short in the summer, and we didn't backfill because I felt we were 5 players light after the summer. Then I look further up the food chain and I start looking at Scott Munn. And if anyone on the panel can tell me what he's done since he's come to Tottenham, then please enlighten me, because I have seen absolute jack.
Some would argue that's the sign of a good person. You don't know what he does.
Well, he's done nothing. I don't know what he's done. Someone needs to enlighten me. And then you've got Langer, who works beside him, who, for me, and I'm going to go back because everyone gets a bit of it. Everyone's going to get a bullet from me on this. With Langer, when we went for him, Aston Villa didn't stand in his way. Now, normally directors of football, people put them on gardening leave before they go elsewhere, but Aston Villa never stood in his way. And I looked at what he did at Aston Villa, and it wasn't nothing to write home about. And he's come to the club. It's been difficult to get rid of players, even when he's been here. And I think that the biggest red herring is that him and Munn didn't bring the players that we needed in the summer.
Yeah.
I then question, what did you do from last year, the winter transfer window last year, to the summer, when you should have been looking at players, identifying them, speaking to players, speaking to agents? Does your player fancy coming to our club? Is he up for it and all that? So doing all your groundwork, so when it comes to the summer, you're ready to go. So you can put a bid in because you know the player wants to come. We did none of that. Then we've got the unfortunate situation where we got all those injuries, and we knew how long the players were going to be out for. So I'm thinking to I then question what did these two guys do from the summer transfer window to the winter transfer window this season? Because when it came to the winter transfer window, as soon as it opened in January, we were twiddling our thumbs. We didn't get the players in till right. Well, the last two players, we got them towards the tail end of the window. So they get some blame. So basically, there's a portion of blame for me, and I'm not even the board. They I can blame them as well because we haven't got a footballing person on the board. Everyone's a spreadsheet or finance expert. So the medical team are a shit show. The coaches, I believe, are a shit show. I just think that we need dissecting in the summer, and we need to do a lessons learned.
This is the thing, though, Jose. They've already, Paratici already took a massive internal review of the football club. They've had 2 reviews of the medical department already within a year. You know what I mean? They are taking these reviews, but nothing seems to be getting fixed. And look, I would argue you've got to have this shit fixed if you want any manager to sort of succeed to a large degree.
But then also as well, the other thing is today's the 13th of March, guys. On the 25th of June, Paratici's worldwide ban finishes. I would like to see if we want to move forward as a club.
Right, yes, Jose.
We still need to.
Fans need to apologise to Paratici before he comes back.
Yeah,
when everything was going on at Juventus, they used that as a whip to get him out of the football club. They were going around calling him a con and absolutely everything. So they need to apologise before he comes back.
So with Paratici, what I'd like to see is he did good work before he got his ban. Started it with the academy. He's done good work. There's green shoots in what he's done. But the problem that we've got is that he's a contractor. He's not a full-time employee. The full-time employee we've got is Langer. I would like to see that reversed. I would like to see us go back, get Paratici back in full-time, and then let Paratici do the lessons learned. Now, with Paratici, if he does it, the one thing that we've got to face facts with is that if he doesn't fancy Ange, he will find another manager. Because if you're going to give Paratici the whip to go and look wholesale through the club on what the errors are and make the changes, one of his changes he probably will make is that he may well cut ties with Ange because there's other managers he fancies. At the end of the day, I've looked at tonight's game and I think some of me says, Dave, that it's Postecoglou. This is the last string that he's got to play for because this is the only trophy that we can now win. But then also, I do say to people that the one thing that we're not part of the conglomerate at Tottenham Hotspur. So we're not in party to the meetings. We're not party to the contracts that have been signed. And because our board and our owner doesn't come out and speak, we don't necessarily know what the path and what the plan is for Tottenham going forward. So, normally the rinse and repeat cycle is managers that have done less than Postecoglou's done in terms of wins ratios, they've got rid of them far earlier. Now, this hasn't happened this time round. Could this be that there's a reason behind it, that there's a plan? But if there is, as fans, unfortunately, we don't know.
We're still in Europa League. That's why.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is that
if you still got a chance to win the trophy, they're not going to pull the plug.
But even if we go out tonight, I'm not sure whether the club would get rid of Postecoglou now or wait till the end of the season to do this biopsy of the club.
It makes no sense to wait to the end of the season. They'll know now after tonight whether.
But Dave, nothing that's happened.
I get what you're saying, but this narrative that they're just going to keep him in here for 10 games and everyone's sitting there waiting, knowing he's going to be sacked, the players knowing he's going to be sacked, it's absolutely nonsense. It's not going to happen. If the club don't see him going into next season, they will fire him tomorrow or after the weekend with the international break coming up off the back of it. That's when they're going to make the change. Why would they pay him his wage and keep him there for 10 games to the end of the season when they can bring in Money Mason on a lower wage to do the last 10 games? That's exactly what's going to happen. It just makes no sense to keep him here for 10 games when everyone knows he's going to be fired. It makes absolutely no sense. But look, let's keep it moving. I mean, Donovan will bring you in and then we'll get Ribsy in as well to have his say.
No, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Kind of all came back to the main thing here. It'll either be Mason Ball, which is crazy. There'll be 3 managers.
I'll have to give up on the season. I think I'll have to go on holidays if he's coming in again.
If it'd be 3 managers that would happen under, and that'd be absolutely crazy. And maybe this time you'd get it right. And it would be the heroicism. And you talk about DVDs, Tottenham makes it be the heroics of Brian Mason saving us from relegation in a 24-25 season. It'd be great. No. So I think the original question was put if you want Ange Postecoglou to be sacked
Yeah.
after this game or not. And so after I threw Jose under the bus, I realized that I regardless of what Jose said or not, I said last week that because of the World Cup coming up and because of preparations heading into that World Cup, and this is like one of the biggest, probably like the last stage for a lot of players to like show off, what the World Cup is, and managers as well. So like there's not gonna be a lot of movement for good quality managers right now. So I don't want to be stuck with someone like Gareth Southgate. I saw someone in the chat put Gareth Southgate. If Ange goes, Southgate's going to be coming in. That's going to be a bleak future. I don't want some kind of panic switch, some kind of panic fix. I know it's not knee jerk because we went out of 3 competitions and they happened different chronologically, so it's not a knee jerk reaction. But I'm looking at the future here, and I'm looking at the new links. I'm looking at the Brighton, the Bournemouth youngster we're linked to. I'm looking at the transfer window ahead. I'm looking at maybe the new toys and tools that Ange Postecoglou could be given. I'm seeing how he's learning on the job and he's adapting. So yeah, bless him. He's a manager that's learning on the job and thrown in a horrible situation that I'm not going to repeat everything Jose just said because it's true. He's restructured a club from the ground up while, learning on the job. It's like when you buy a brand new barbecue or some kind of tool and you don't need the manual, but you have to eventually kind of go back and you're using it and you're kind of reading how to freaking use this thing. He's never coached in the Premier League before, right? He's never had an injury crisis this deep before, and I don't want to give the guy excuse and keep giving him a ribbon to cut cloth with because eventually the spool will run dry. But I don't want him to relegate our club either. That's the thing too, because because I could see us becoming an Everton. I could see us becoming. There comes a point where you're too far away from the pack, where it's unobtainable, right? Where you can never get back to that level. Aston Villa somehow has climbed their way out of the depths of hell from like the likes of Unai Emery, and they fueled off of his revenge and whatever kind of plot he has, the Spanish kind of plot for Arsenal and what they did to him, and now he's taking that club to new levels beyond. Nottingham Forest are taking steps up. So it's a very difficult age to live in for football. And you look at our club and Manchester United, and we're down there at the bottom of the heap. So if we lose today, I don't know. I don't think he'll be sacked. I don't want to sound like
no, it's your opinion.
My sources tell me. But my sources, I have sources saying that he's quite safe. And so, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding with the sources, but I don't know, man. I think I want the guy in. I want him to have another transfer window. It'll be the only club he hasn't won his trophy in his second year, and then that won't just be him. That'll be a big middle finger to the board. And I could see way back during the pre-COVID era when Ben Daniels historically had the flag, and he was holding that big banner, and he was on the front page of the news, and he was like walking down High Street, leading up. It's gonna be like those days again. It's gonna be like making jokes about Brian Daigle waiting by Levy's car, like when like people are ready to like take action again, because to take control of their club again, because it's fun to joke about, but at the end of the day it's not, because it's a reality. It's a grim reality. It's like a family of 4 in North London can't even afford like to go out and buy themselves a kit for Christmas, man. Like that's fucking pathetic, bro. Like I don't even have the kit, bro. That kit hanging up on the wall right there, that's a Sean Butler gift from a giveaway. That's like a knockoff from China, bro. Like people don't have the budget to like go. Some people are blessed and have like platforms and can go and do this, but to have this money hungry fool at the top that has no idea what to do with football, who's designed a world-class stadium, who has the best acoustics in the world. Let's go back a little bit, because we have a big panel today. We have a lot to say, but I did something to say about the stadium earlier, where it's like you have this idiot that has like the best design facility, where like it's rumored he has everything to say, like the light switches. Apparently, he had like something to do with the light switches. He wanted certain light switches. He wanted certain light fixtures in certain areas for ambiance and stuff. Well, you worry about ambiance when you can't even worry about the first first level of investment in the first team. You know, you're skimping out left, right, and center here, and everything. So yeah, you see how this conversation always switches from Ange to the real problem. So it's like we throw another manager under the bus, and we're back at the same start. So it's like I hope we have something going on in the works. I really hope we do, Jose. I really hope we have a switching of the hands. I hope we do pass the torch to some Qatari owner or some billionaire in the United States or some crazy kind of conglomerate that can get us out of this mess. Because Levy's just going to use this as a Mario Kart investment.
Look, I fully understand what you're saying. And, you know, I do agree with you when it comes down to recruitment. I think that's where we've gone wrong under Jose Mourinho. I think Nuno is a perfect case study. You look at Nuno at Tottenham and the recruitment for him. Look what we got out of him. Look what Nottingham Forest got out of him with the recruitment they've made for him. It all comes down to recruitment. Everyone's talking about Iriola. Look what he's doing at Bournemouth. Okay, no one wants to talk about the recruitment, though. It's not just Iriola walking in there sprinkling magic. They've gone and signed European quality players for him, the likes of your Evan Nilssons, your Kluiverts, your Kirkegers, people like that. What did we sign for Ange Postecoglou? Teenagers, kids, go and make it work. You know, and I think, honestly, Jose Mourinho was let down by the recruitment. I think Nuno, to a large degree, probably let down by recruitment. Conte, let down by recruitment, although I'd argue he's probably a better recruitment than some of the other managers. I think Ange Postecoglou let down by recruitment from last summer, this winter, and the winter before that. And I think if you're going to keep letting down managers with recruitment, you're going to keep coming down this way. You know,
what about Pochettino?
One second. We're sitting here asking
2 years.
One second. We're sitting here asking managers to be magic, make it work. You don't have a left back. We've only got one for you this season to go 60 games. But if he goes out injured, make it work. I'm sorry, it's not as simple as that. You've got to have a proper squad for these managers to work with. You give them a squad, you will see what these managers are capable. Reality is we don't hire bad managers. Since Pochettino, we haven't hired bad managers. Postecoglou's not a bad manager, but they're all made looking competent at Tottenham Hotspur because of the piss poor recruitment that we do underneath them. Sorry, Ribsy, on to you, my man.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, the other guys have said the vast majority of what I would have to say. What I will add is that, in my opinion, at a certain point, whether you like the manager or not, whether this position has to be untenable because it's a
100%.
results-based industry, and if he's not getting results, I mean, you can say he's working towards. He's building up a crop of young players, and he's trying, and eventually we'll harvest that crop, and it's going to be a great team. But we don't know that, and it's eventually the position it gets to a point where the pressure gets so much on the club and on the manager and everything, and he's going to be, if it stays like it is, it's going to be miserable for him as well, and he'll be just as happy to go as anything else probably, but.
Let me ask you a bit of a different question then, Ribsy. Do you feel like it's like I get what you're saying there in terms of, there comes a point where it feels like regardless, there's no coming back from it, from the players, from the management, moving forward, and the ownership to a large degree. Do you think we've already hit that point? Like if we win tonight, is that still delaying the inevitable? Have we already reached that point?
Geez, it's a tough question. Look, I love Ange, I really do, and I thought that it was absolutely worth the chance to see, because there was no evidence really that he couldn't step it up to this level, and the jury's still out on that. I'm not saying that he can't, but it certainly hasn't been the roaring success that we all hoped it would 100%. Be, right? Even those of us that like.
Well, it's the same with Conte and Jose as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I would say that you would probably say that his results have been similar to those super high end managers that have probably cost the club a fortune to bring in and then sack, right? So I'm assuming we're not paying Ange as much as we were paying Jose Mourinho or Conte, but who knows? But it's one of those things where I would have loved to see Ange work at Spurs, but at a certain point we have to be realistic. Whether that's tomorrow or it's in the summer or it's after another season, who knows? I mean, he could win Europa League. We could be in Champions League next year. on the back of that. We could get a really strong finish next season. We could go deep in the Champions League next season. I mean, who knows? We just don't know at this point. But at a certain point, just being positive about something, getting no real evidence of it truly going from being where we're at to somewhere better, it gets crazy. But then again, when you guys are talking about recruitment, I think that is the genuine crux of the problem that you're facing, because when we had those teams that felt as though they were capable of really potentially winning titles and potentially winning cups, and we just weren't bringing in the players. Like Jose jumped in before, and Jose. I had Jose on the mind from earlier. Jose said, under Poch, they didn't bring anybody in. When we had one of those teams that genuinely felt as though all we needed was that little push, and we could have won something. And honestly, we could have won something with the team as it was. So I sort of understand what they were doing, but you got to keep bringing in that fresh blood, because if you don't, things start to get stale, and then people get jaded, and then that's just the nature of it. Or people get comfortable, they're not getting pushed for their position. That was a massive mistake. As I think an equal mistake of just bringing in because you got this guy, you brought this manager in, and you're like, okay, it's your job you're the painful rebuild everyone's been talking about. It's your job to change the culture and to bring us the new generation of players and stuff. So in response to that, they just give us 18 and 19-year-olds, which doesn't work out. I mean, obviously I know that they brought in Solanke as well, which was, it hasn't been a terrible buy, but a few more in that sort of ilk instead of just kids probably would have made this less painful than it's been. Because, and I'm not blaming the kids for the results either, because I mean, who's going to blame an 18-year-old for not performing in the Premier League? I mean, you're 18, but I can see. I think everyone who's involved in it, and the reason why Ange has been given such a long lead to try and improve things and sort of use this season as sort of a stepping stone into greater things, is just because they appreciate that they're bringing in the younger players and they're trying to develop into something. But we are the fans, and we've been watching this crap week after week after week, and some of that's Ange's fault, some of that's the recruitment's fault, some of that's the players' fault. I mean, we all sit here and we listen to it and we talk about it and we go on and on and on about it. But the truth of the matter is, there's no simple fix. And yes, you can give Ange more time and things will probably improve. Yes, we can buy more players and things will probably improve. Yes, we can move out some of the older players and bring in newer players, and it might probably improve. But it's going to be fits and starts. It's going to be two steps forwards, one step back. It's always going to be like that. And it's never, and all these clubs you're talking about, Forest and stuff before, ever since, the sort of the Leicester sort of period, all these clubs have moved into these types of recruitment. And we're trying to do it too. But the thing is, there's only so many players out there. Everyone's like, oh, we need to do this type of recruitment where we bring in these diamond in the rough players, and they just need that next step up to the next level. But there's only so many players out there, and if everyone's doing the same thing, then we're competing in a limited pool of players. So there's no easy fix, unfortunately. And you can sack Ange, and yes, you will probably see a short-term improvement from doing that, at least in results in the first team. But whether a season from now or 2 seasons from now that's the right move, we will never know, because we can't do both things. We can't sack Ange and not sack Ange. So we'll never know the right answer.
Like Schrodinger's cat of like Ange Postecoglou, and sacked or either not sacked, right?
I just think he's running out of time to make it work, and I think the board are also, running out of, time to sort of give the guy the backing. I think that they really missed the marker in January and the summer. But Jack, we'll let you have your say on it, and then I'm going to plug NordVPN, the greatest VPN, which you might need between now and the end of the season. And we're going to move on and talk about team selection. So, Jack, I'll give you your chance on Postecoglou, and then we'll move on.
Listen, I think he kind of has to, in my opinion, he has to be sacked if he loses this game. Mostly because even though I agree with Dave, I think he's from the get-go kind of been set up to a degree fail. I don't know if I expected him to fail this miserably with
Yeah.
the players that he had available to him at the end of the day. I don't think we should be in 13th. Like, I think that squad reflects that we should probably be in a better position than that. I don't think we should be losing to Leicester City in the manner that we did. I don't think we should be losing to Ipswich Town at home with pretty much a full squad in the manner that we did. And also, I think the thing with Ange that slightly worries me is this was a point brought up by Eugene the other night, and it kind of made me really reflect on his time here this season, is that in the beginning of the year, there were some really bad results, but it did feel like, we were just hard done by lack of finishing, by just individual mistakes by players. It wasn't really feeling like it was necessarily on Ange, like as much in those games. Like a lot of us, I think we're in agreement about that. It was like, we just don't really have, and it came down to recruitment, right? We just don't have the players that can really put away these chances. We don't have guys that are composed in the final third, et cetera, et cetera. And then also Romero making mistakes, Porro making mistakes, various things like that felt like, maybe the performance was there, the quality of the performance was there that deserved more than what we were getting. The last 2 to 3 months, I mean, of course, there have been injuries and whatnot, but there have been times when we've had some bad performances as well, even with fewer injuries, where it barely even created anything at all. And we just looked pretty terrible for a full 90 minutes, actually. And that's where my concern is with Ange Postecoglou, is I can't really give him that excuse that I've given him in the beginning of the season, which is, well, it kind of seems like it's more on the players and it kind of seems like it's more on the recruitment, for this season than it really is on him at the end of the day. But I can't necessarily say that in like the last few months or so. And like I said, injuries, of course, play a huge factor, but more recent performances in recent months would say that it's a bit of all of the above. It's the players still letting him down. It's the recruitment letting him down. Then it's also Ange Postecoglou getting things wrong. Like I said, even just in the AZ Alkmaar game, taking off Madison and Son, that is on Ange at the end of the day. He has to live and die by those decisions. And those decisions, to me, seem ludicrous at the time to do so. And I think he's hurting himself in that position. So for me, Dave, where I kind of find it is, this is probably if he loses, this would be the worst season that you and I have ever experienced together. It's the worst season I probably have ever felt that we've had in a long time at Tottenham Hotspur. My first real experiences of Spurs were post end of, the likes of Redknapp and then on to AVB and Tim Sherwood. And at the end of the day, I felt like those seasons, to some extent felt like there was still something that we were building off of, something that, we actually could look forward to more. This season has just been a dramatic letdown in every single way, despite how much I think Ange has been set up to fail. I didn't think he would fail this poorly, and that's only saying if he does lose tonight. So I think he would have to go. And I thought that was a good point raised by Ribsy, just about, it is a bit all of the above, but at this stage, I think more questions have to be asked of Ange Postecoglou than actually of the recruitment and of even the players, even though that's always been a huge factor for me.
No, look, absolutely fair enough. Look, one thing I think we're all in agreement of, listening to everybody here, is that the pressure is on. And we've got to get the win tonight. Various opinions on how long he's going to last. But look, I think even from taking in the people at home, the general consensus is that we don't get through tonight. Many people want to go in a different direction. Big
Just
up
quickly,
K32. Good to see you and Peter Kagase as well. Go on.
Over 530 in the house this entire time, by what I can tell. Only 100 likes, though. Only 100 likes, though. So please, everybody, if you can bump those up. We're trying to get out the difficult conversations, and then we'll go on to, lineups and that sort of stuff as well. To get
smash the likes, yeah.
But only 100 likes, so please, everybody, smash it. And then also as well, looks like a little bit over 100 over on Twitter. So if you guys want to follow us over, bring up your comments on screen and chat with us, feel free to do so.
Really appreciate the support. But guys, we're going to take a brief moment to pause in the show, and we're going to bring you NordVPN, because quite frankly, I think most of you are probably going to need it if we come out of Europe tonight, because a lot of our games probably won't be on the box. So you're going to have to find alternative countries that you're going to have to bounce. You're going to have to bounce your that you're going to have to bounce your location to be able to watch these games. And if you want to do that, use NordVPN. That's what they're for. And the reason why I brought you NordVPN is because they are the quickest in the world, a little bit like Wilson Odebert, the fastest in the world. And they also protect all of your data, protect you on public Wi-Fi, which I think is very important in this modern day age. You see all the leaks that people are getting, all the spam that people are getting. Technology is becoming a lot more sophisticated. So you want your bank details, your data, and everything has to be protected, when you're surfing the web. And also on public Wi-Fi, and NordVPN bring you that. Not only that, they understand that with technology becomes multiple devices that you need to be able to use it on. So they've got you covered. You can use it onto 10 devices. And basically what it allows you to do is just bounce your location to another country, and you can find a subscription service that suits better for you in terms of payment-wise, or if there's a sporting event not shown in your area, you can basically bounce your location and go and find a stream in that area. And lastly as well, if you're traveling, we all turn on our subscriptions that we have back home, and all of a sudden you see cannot be broadcast in this area.
Right.
Well, NordVPN allows you to bounce yourself back home, turn it on, and away you go. So I think it's great for traveling, and I think that's what you need to use NordVPN for. Jack, you can do the rest. You can tell people where they can find and what the plans are.
Please, everybody, use that code FLATCAP. Get yourself a 2-year plan, 4 extra months free. If you're not enjoying it, 30-day money-back guarantee. So, you can get a full refund on that. But like Dave said, if you're on maybe vacation mode, I know it's spring break for a lot of people. I know it's kind of around that time where you're probably wanting to go to a warm weather region. Also, in Dave's case, if things go poorly tonight, he's going to look to try to escape Tottenham Hotspur for a week or so. And I know Dave is he's a cultured man when it comes to the movies and the TV shows. And like you just said there, you're able to then be able to continue to watch whatever you might be into. I'm in the middle of watching Paradise, on Hulu. I'm really loving that show. So when I do go on vacation to maybe see someone like Donovan up in Canada, I might not be able to even have that available to me. So good to have that, at all times. I think a VPN more nowadays is kind of just something you just need to have in your back pocket. So might as well use the one that you see on screen here from NordVPN. Please use it. Be helping out the channel a ton as well. And Dave, I thought you did an excellent job there.
Yeah, look, my dad uses one. He thinks he's brilliant. He thinks he's cultured now, Jack, because he's surfing all over the world. You say to him, "Do you want to go here on holiday?" No, I've already been there through my VPN location, But big up NordVPN. Really appreciate the support. I love the commitment, between now and the end of the season. Hopefully Tottenham can do the same. So, guys, make sure you get across to NordVPN and check that out. But look, let's keep it moving. I mean, guys, we'll start, going into the sort of what to expect from the lineup tonight, kick on this conversation a bit. So, who's with us? I'll go to Ribsy first. Ribsy, Kevin Danzo is out with a hamstring injury. Mickey Van de Ven, Ben Davies, and Romero are the fit and available fullbacks for today's match. Now, Romero looked incredibly rusty against Bournemouth, and Van de Ven has been very slowly eased back into things. What backline would you go with in this game? And are you worried about the more rustiness, a lot more rustiness that we've seen from the Bournemouth game continuing into today's game from the returning centre-backs? Because Romero was 1 or 2 down earlier on.
Yeah. No, he was diabolical at the start. That was the worst I've ever seen him play. But, he hasn't played in 4 months or something. So the only way to fix him up is to blow the cobwebs out, blow the rust off, and just play him. So if Ange loses this game and he didn't play Romero, who is arguably our best player in the club at the moment, he won't live that down. He's got to play him. If he's fit and if he's ready to go. He put the captain's armband on him. There's no reason why he won't pick him unless there's a medical reason not to, because he's nuts if he doesn't pick him. That said, who really knows? He could have played him on the weekend because he had some other plan for tonight. I doubt it, but you never know. So you've got to. I think he's absolutely insane if he doesn't pick Romero.
He has really high praise for Romero too. So I even any time that he's been asked about the guy, he seems to have really high praise for him. So I also agree. I'd be shocked. Someone did use the metaphor. I think it was in the comments or something like that. For the predicted lineup, Dave and Ripsy, that in a way, like a player being gone for like 4 to 5 months is the equivalent. I don't drive stick, but they were saying it's like if you drove like stick or something, you haven't, done it for a long time. You are going to be a little bit, sort of shaky, a little bit rusty to some extent. So you have to, like maybe Ripsy said, just got to continue to practice and got to continue just rolling out there. And then I guess in tonight's context, you just really hope that you're getting, the best, sort of performance you can from Romero, even if he is a tad rusty to some extent there. But I don't know. Is that metaphor kind of accurate to a degree? If you're out for that long of a period, about 4 months is a long time. So I think maybe that metaphor does apply.
Yeah, look, a lot of footballers, it's about, in their rhythm. The top footballers are in a certain rhythm. They go into games, they're feeling it. When you're coming back from a long time out, it's like coming back, after having the summer off, first thing into preseason. Everyone's absolutely rusty. It's about finding your rhythm again. And I think that's the case with Romero and Van de Ven. Look, defensively, I think it's a huge risk tonight, especially if they're not 100% fit. If AZ Alkmaar get us on the break because of that rustiness, could it come back to bite us? Will they look to maybe go and press our backline and surprise us earlier on in the game and get joy off it like Bournemouth did to try and give themselves something a little bit more to hang on to tonight? But I think in terms of going forward, I think you've got to play the two of them. I think Van de Ven, what I like about him is one touch, it goes down that left-hand side. And if the pass isn't on, he's proactive. He goes with the ball. With Romero, don't get me wrong, he was very, very sloppy against Bournemouth. But if you take your mind back to Romero before his injury crisis, he brings that bit of unpredictability on the ball. He can go long. He can play it in behind for someone like Maddison running on the end of it. That was a common thing that they used to do together. Romero on the ball, Maddison running in behind. So I do think in possession, the name of the game tonight is to go and score goals. And I think in possession, I think you've got to take that risk, absolutely. Moving into midfield, though, guys, it's a bit of a long-winded one now, but our midfield has been a major issue for several years. And Postecoglou has struggled to find the right balance since he was appointed 21 months ago. He's constantly switching up his midfield trio and making frequent substitutions during games to try and gain control of that midfield battle. In fact, Postecoglou has made 68 changes to his starting midfield across 44 matches this season, averaging 1.5 changes per game. He's only named the same three midfielders in consecutive matches 4 times this season. Now, I get rotation for cup games, come into account, and I do get that, injuries come into account, but being brutally honest, midfield is one of the least areas that we've been affected. Bar Bentancur, everyone else has more or less been there for the majority of the season, bar the odd niggle here or there. So basically what I want to know, do we think that the lack of consistency in the midfield is negatively affecting the team's overall chemistry and understanding on the pitch? Because one thing my dad's always hammered into me, and I actually agree with him, playing the game and that when I was younger, I actually agree with him. Midfield is absolutely the glue to your team. It's the glue to absolutely everything. If you're open down the middle, it makes everyone else look crap. If you're not competent on the ball, it makes everyone else around you look crap. It's absolutely vital. So is the lack of consistency in terms of the midfield selections really hampered what Postecoglou's trying to do here? Who wants to bite on that? Anyone fancy that?
Incredible research, by the way, by Dave there, everybody. So please, in the chat, do show him some love for that. 1.5 changes per match is, I think, a pretty damning stat, right? That's nearly right. But if you were to round up, that's basically 2 players, being changed in the midfield per game, which definitely leads to instability of some kind. I think a lot of it
means you got your selection wrong from the start, right?
To a degree, yes, but also maybe the players have let him down. He's got Basuma on the balloons. He's got James Maddison. That James Maddison, right? Has been all over the shop. Even though I've kind of been a defender of Maddison this season, I'd argue last season there wasn't a whole lot of defending for Maddison. There were plenty of times that he did go missing. It's hard to even know which midfield combination has even worked the best. Like the Kulusevski, Maddison, Bentancur one was really, really good up until Bentancur got injured. Yeah,
I think that worked. I think the biggest thing was if you remember, he changed that after we. Yeah, but if you remember, he changed that after we ended up losing to Brighton 3-2. He was very unhappy with the midfield collapse in that second half, and since then he's never actually really reinstated it. But many would argue that was probably our best midfield. That's when we were picking up results this season.
Yeah, I think that probably for me too was probably one of our best midfields as well. But then, I think I have some sympathy for Ange in that I think Bentancur either had a suspension and an injury, maybe both at the same time to some degree. And then Kulusevski now is all of a sudden out. We've had a lot of there's just been instability there with either performances, things off the pitch, or even to a degree, with injuries as well. So I just find it to be, I have sympathy for Ange in that regard. But maybe you're right, Dave, that he also hasn't been, I don't know, maybe he just hasn't put his neck out there and just really just laying down, this is the midfield that's going to work for me for the rest of this season, and this is what I'm going to trial. He just hasn't shown any sort of confidence maybe in whichever combination has worked best so far. But I have a bit of sympathy because I think there's been a lot of stuff off the pitch that have maybe affected that decision making.
Because the thing is, right, I can understand, if we were going on about the injury crisis, but the reality, that's more being the back line, the goalkeeper, and the forward line more so than the midfield. So, the midfield is one area where he probably could have shown a lot more consistency than what he has. And maybe, I do think that's probably let him down to large parts. But then I suppose the follow-up question, I'll put it out there, whoever wants to come in can. Does that then scream to a lack of quality in midfield, or do we believe in these players and that it's just Ange Postecoglou not getting it right?
Oh no, it was a total lack of quality in the midfield. Like Bergvall, as much as we love the guy, he's just a kid. Like he's just Swedish Division 2. Like yeah, like that's. I would have loved Joshua Kimmich, like or Pierre Emil Hoiberg even would have been nice in our squad. Just someone who can come in like a finisher and come in, see the game over the line. That was Pierre, right? That's what he could do. He couldn't really play edge ball, but he could come in and like arguably a lot of those points we got under him at the beginning of the season. He'd come in and finish certain games.
Are we missing leadership then? Is that what you're kind of saying in that midfield to some degree, Donovan, or just like experience?
Well, during the season, definitely. And I argued we're only talking midfield today, but it's like today will be the first time we didn't really get a chance to talk about it, about like the build of the actual game and like the tactics, how we could like break down AZ. But like this is like the first time in a long time that we have potential three of our leadership people starting, or like Son, Madison, and Romero. And I'm really hoping that like this is it. This is what kicks off, and this is what Ange is talking about. Where Ange says, "Hey, this is like, yeah," because like it built up for a bit. Like I was trying to be like reasonable and everything, but then like a certain time before a match hits, it's like full delusion, right? Like let's go, right? Like so like I'm really hoping this is like what Ange meant, where it's like things have. We went through the trenches, we went through hell, we went through down bad, as the term is, as the kids say nowadays, that we were down bad where we were playing, Archie Gray at center back. Maybe we can look back at those pictures of the screenshots of the lineups, of the screenshots of like the green form of Archie Gray, and look at him as our underrated hero, of getting us through those moments of playing him at center back. And then we have the Van de Ven and Romero coming back, and Romero did look piss poor at center back, and like it is his four games in, and that's a really good analogy, Jack. The driving stick, that's a really good analogy. I don't know who gave you that, but that's a really good way to look at it mentally, because you're not in the lane, you're just not there, because you can't. No one can simulate a match, and Van de Ven is such a good partnership. That's such a good partnership in the world football, and they need each other, and so hopefully starting them together is great. Huffing balloons in the sixth there. I really want Bissouma. And everybody knows that, like the regulars on the show, that I rinse Bissouma so hard. But that doesn't mean into any player, until you leave the club and you put on a shirt, I'm going to get behind you. Like if you start in the lineup, of course, I'm going to want you to play silky. Of course, I'm going to want the Bissouma of the last season, For me, it's almost the same 11 as our best ever Ange team, minus Solanke in there, because we didn't have Solanke under him at the beginning there, right? So I know we're not in the forwards yet. I don't know if I want to transition to forwards, but it's the Bissouma Sarr Madison. It's the Bissouma Sarr Madison, because Sarr has the legs to make up for it. Madison, when he's on fighting form, when he has to go to the darts next day, he comes back from the darts. And I saw like a clip of the darts, the pictures of the darts, the social setting, and it's like a big canopy tent, and there's tons of tables and stuff, and people just go out there and have a good time. And it's like the certain big celebrities sit in a certain section, and it's like a big social time and everything. Yeah, that's good and everything when you're winning and you're top of the table, and and you're out there. I think we had this conversation way back when Ali was still playing there, and except it was video games and they're playing FIFA, and it's like, well, that's good to have when you're winning. It's like FIFA's good to have when you're winning. And it's like I went and sold my Xbox next month. It's like you can't be having that stuff distracting you. So I'm really hoping he's not just taking his check and kind of just using it as a luxury player.
The most instability has been in the number 6 role. Like Bissouma, Dave and I have felt like just isn't disciplined enough to play the 6 role, especially in this system by himself.
We don't have Bendiker today, right? Like Bendiker's injured today. We don't even have a choice. Like you don't throw that pick under the bus because of that, because like we're forced into this hand. My best midfield would be Bendiker in the 6, but we don't have Bendiker in the 6 today. We have he's injured, so we have to play Bissouma in the 6. So, like I said, what's that?
No, I was going to say, I think what Jack's point is like I think he understands that Bentancur is out, but more so that he doesn't trust Bissouma to play that number 6 role today. He'll probably go with someone else.
Or it's where I have sympathy again for Ange. It's where I'd say I have sympathy for Ange, in that Bentancur hasn't been consistently available to play him week in, week out as number 6, due to his own actions, off the pitch, but also due to his injuries. Bissouma has shown that he can't actually play the 6 reliably enough. And then there really isn't any other player, bar Archie Gray, but maybe the opportunities that he did have to play Archie Gray there, he had to play him as a center back because we had no center backs available, during a large portion of this season. So where again, I have sympathy for Ange is in that midfield, because one of the big positions, in this system clearly is to have a top level number 6. And I don't even think, Højbjerg is, necessarily someone that we should technically still have around, but that is to a degree an experienced defensive midfielder that he could have then picked on to have just available to lean on. But he's never really had a number 6 that he could trust and really rely on, bar Bentancur. But as I just mentioned, Bentancur never really has been available for the majority of this season. So Dave, I think your point is a very good point about the midfield. Like, he hasn't found the right combination, but maybe the key to it, or the crux to it to me, really is the fact that one of the most important positions, especially in modern day football, is that deep lying midfield role. And I don't think he's had anybody that he can rely on at all this season. And maybe even last season, he actually had more reliable players. He did have, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Bissouma, as a rotation. And now he's more or less just had like one player to pick there reliably. But like I said, that guy hasn't been available.
What I would say is the fact that Bergvall is broke into that midfield, the fact that many people want to see Archie Gray in the number 6, and the fact that there's people like me that want to see Sarr in there, all of our youngest midfielders, I think it screams to, the inconsistency of the senior players to a large degree. Someone like your James Maddison, 1 week shows up, the next 6 weeks sits on the bench. I think after that Brighton game, they had a massive falling out between him and Postecoglou, and maybe to a degree, despite, maybe, he cut off his nose, really, didn't he, Postecoglou, to a large degree, but he dropped James Maddison. Maybe he should have been bigger in that situation, told him what he needed to tell him, and sort of try and work that situation out a lot quicker, knowing he was part of his best midfield. You look at Bissouma, Conte said, look, the guy's basically an idiot. He can't take in tactics. He's just brain dead, and then, Postecoglou came in, put his arm around him. I'm not going to lie. When I seen him, dancing around the dressing room and everything else, I sort of got a vibe for what he is. He's a vibes man. He's there for a good time. That's what he is. Then, he has a poor season last season. He gets sent off against Luton. Our season derails. You don't see him again until the new year. Comes back on shit form. Then comes into the summer on helium balloons, and then big games this year. Arsenal, he got the ball turned over off him. They went straight back up and scored. Liverpool Cup and the Carabao Cup semi-final. It was his little shitty 5-yard pass that he couldn't make, which he should be making. That led to our downfall in that second leg. Opened us up there from there on out. You go back to the Chelsea game, giving away a penalty out in Rangers, the Battle of Britain. Absolutely fucking shocking for me. I'm sorry, I don't trust the guy. I don't trust the guy in the number 6. And also, the name of the game today is to score goals. That ball has to be moved quickly from them deeper areas into the forward areas. He's incapable of doing it. He has to take 10, 15 touches. And if you go back and look at some of the stuff we done on T4 last week, breaking down the clips, the ball comes to the guy. I'm watching Pedri, or not Pedri, I'm watching Neves and Fitini the other night. It's stuck to them like they've got sticky spray on their boots. When Bissouma takes a touch, it's bubbling 15 yards in front of him, and he puts himself in trouble. He invites the pressure. For me, I don't think he can be trusted tonight. For me, I don't want to see that bozo. And I've been a big defender of Bissouma. I think he's got so much talent. Same with Ronald McDombele. But unfortunately, we can sit here and say so much talent, you've got to play him on the off chance he gets out there and plays well. But the reality is, we can do everything we want. If they don't have the desire to get it out of themselves, no one else can drag it out of them. And for me, I think Bissouma's done. And lastly, the fact that the fucker went skiing last week ahead of a Europa League game, knowing the injury crisis we've had and knowing what happened to like Manuel Neuer when he went skiing that time, stuff like that. And also being out of the team, his contract's coming up and he's got a point to prove, and he's off fucking skiing. So for me, he showed a lack of interest last week, so he shouldn't be anywhere near the lineup today. Can I
come in there? So like the thing for me is like with Bissouma is like he's. Well,
I just want to let Jose and Ribsy in as well, because we've all had a good say on the midfield. I do have to let the two boys in as well. But go on, you come back quickly, and then we'll let the two boys in.
I just don't want to push up and see him like pants half down, swagging, like running back, like you say, he's a vibes player, like vibes man, and the blood clot, moves the blood clot ball up in the midfield, but and then he runs black with his pants half hanging down, like he's just trudging back. And then that's when he puts in the shit tackles, right? So it's like when you get it focused, Bissouma, that's a different player, right? Like when you get a distracted Bissouma, that's when the balloons come in, that's when the bad decisions come in, that's when he's not focused and the touch goes rumbling through. And yeah, but anyway, go on. Sorry.
I agree. Go on, Ribsy, come on in there.
Oh man, yeah, no, famously not a big fan of Basuma. I really wanted him to work out with in that first season, and it felt like he was motivated to do so, but no, it's clear that he just doesn't have the mentality, I suppose, for being that guy you can rely on in that position. It's funny, I've seen a few people in chat, and I remember Jack saying probably yesterday or the day before that we really are missing Højbjerg, and it's funny how you have those sorts of boring players sometimes that you're never really that excited to see, but they're just reliable, you know. And it's if there was a few of those sort of traits to Basuma, he'd probably be a far better player than Basuma. Oh, sorry, than Højbjerg, but that's not there, and it's really quite evident that those boring sort of reliable aspects in that position are probably what you need more than maybe the slightly better skill set or slightly better endurance or engine or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's I've seen a few people talking about putting Bergvall in the 6. I've seen obviously people really want to see
he's
Gray.
played there though, Bergvall. Didn't he play there against Liverpool one of the games, if I'm correct?
Yeah. I think he's played a little bit there, here and there. I mean, it's one thing filling in for a bit, and it's another thing, you know, starting in probably the most important game in Ange's Spurs career so far. So you know, we'll see, but it could be interesting to see Maddison and Bergvall laid out like that. But no, I think that Jack is probably right. I think that Ange will start Basuma, and I think it's going to be a disaster. but I'm not trying to be too negative about it. I think that they'll make some changes there, and it'll improve. But we, as everyone's saying, we need someone who has that position locked down and is reliable and is exactly, you know, the skill set we need for that if we're going to play the way we're playing, because it's you can't keep doing this sort of, you know, who's in form in the moment sort of play, because it's just, well, it's untenable. It's not working. We're losing.
with the amount of times we've selected, you know, different midfield combination, it almost seems like that he's just trying to pick who he thinks is in form on that sort of game by game basis. I definitely agree with that for sure. Jose, do you want to come in on the midfield and then we'll move on?
If there are no injuries on a pitch, football's moved at a pace where you've got 5 substitutions. Invariably, the 5 substitutions, if there are not injuries, the 5 substitutions tend to be a mixture of your midfielders and your forwards. So we've got 3 in midfield, 3 in attack. 5 of them changes will be, if you're taking changing 3 strikers, you'll change 3 midfielders. If you change 3 midfielders, you'll change 3 strikers.
I hear what you're saying, right? I know you're coming in. I hear what you're saying, but the reality is, how often do Man City change their midfield? Liverpool, Arsenal, they don't change it anywhere near as regularly. They do. Not nowhere near as regularly as we do. You think they've had 66 different combinations in 44 games? You honestly think that?
And I'm talking about substitutions, Dave. I'm talking about whenever you look at a Liverpool starting lineup, Salah never gets taken off. The other 2 forwards get taken off, and they rotate the 3 midfielders with their substitutions. So substitution-wise, they're there. As for if you're talking about a starting midfield, then no, they don't fluctuate and change as much as what Tottenham do, because he hasn't found the formula that actually works. For me, I live down on the south coast anyway, and the nearest place to me is the nearest Premiership club to me is Brighton. I play football with all the Brighton lads, and when we signed Basuma, they said that Basuma would turn up one game and not turn up for the next 8 for them. He had a bad rep down in Brighton as well for all these balloons, the party in the nightclubs. He was under suspicion of a few things down at Brighton as well. And we signed him, and basically it's just been an extension of what they got at Brighton, only that instead of being in small Brighton, he's now in London, bigger lights. And, you know, he's just what the young'uns would say, he's a waste man. He's a complete waste man. And for me, without Bentancur tonight, I would actually play. We haven't seen him play here yet. I'd actually start Archie Gray. I'd start Archie Gray with Maddison and Bergvall in midfield. But the problem that we've got, and it's quite a hard one to say really and put your finger on it, is that aesthetically, on the eye, the midfielders and the forwards don't seem to gel and haven't for a while. But yet we're the second highest top goal scorers in the Premiership. So go figure that, you know. To me, aesthetically, on the eye, the forwards don't look pleasing, and neither do the midfield. They seem detached and apart, whichever formation we select in midfield. But yet we have got the second most goals. So for me, I wouldn't start Basuma tonight.
You wouldn't? Okay. Interesting. Look, it'll be interesting to see what three he makes in that midfield, to be honest with you, despite me not wanting to see him. I think the fact that he came off early at the weekend maybe hints to the fact that he probably will come in tonight. James Maddison, I think, will start tonight. It'd be interesting to see whether he goes Bergvall, Sarr. I know a lot of people say they want to see Bergvall in there, and I get it. You know, he gives you all action displays. But, you know, the aim of the name is to score goals tonight. And I would argue Sarr brings you that from the midfield more than any of the other midfielders to a certain degree. You know, then your Bergvalls, your Basumas, your Bentancurs and players like that. You know, he always chips in with a goal. He's capable with a goal outside the box. And by the way, he meant that one at the weekend. You know, and he's capable of threading balls through. And I would argue he does that work rate that, you know, we really miss when he's not there. So I think, you know, it'd be very interesting to see what midfield tree Postecoglou goes with tonight. I would argue he's got to pick Papa Sarr, though. RST says, relying on liabilities like Johnson and Basuma will cost us. We will lose with them on the field. They are useless against compact and deep teams. I mean, look, we're going to come into right-wing RST. Look, I fully agree with you. I think, again, Johnson's another one. I think, you know, the people that defend Johnson, their big argument is that he arrives in at the back post at the right time, okay, but we also have to create chances before we even think about scoring them tonight. So on that basis, he shouldn't be in the lineup, and he's not in the lineup. Absolutely brilliant.
Holy nuts.
RST,
I've lost my house.
Yeah, I thank you for that, RST. You're the good omen on that one. Big up, RST. Absolute legend. You must be buzzing. So we're going to go through the lineup. I'll give you the starting 11. Jack will give you the substitutions, and we'll find out off the panel their thoughts on the lineup and their score predictions. We also want yours at home. Also, run up them likes if you feel like it. Nearly 900 in-house. We've got Vicario in goals, Pedro Porro at right back, Romero and Van de Ven at centre back, with Jed Spence coming in at left back. We've got Papa Sarr, Bergvall and Kulusevski in the midfield, which means no Destiny Udogie and no Basuma either. And then we've got Udebert, Dom Solanke and Sonny up front. I presume Udebert will be off the right and Son will be on his favourite left-hand side. Jack, what's the bench, my man?
Brandon Austin, Alfie Whiteman, Destiny Udogie, Davis, Archie Gray, Basuma, Mikey Moore, Johnson, Tell, and Scarlett. Now, what's hilarious about the starting lineup, Dave, is that I did get some massive, decisions wrong on when it came to the midfield. I was, pretty confident that he was going to pick Basuma, and I was pretty confident he was going to pick Johnson. He hasn't done. I think he's actually gone for the lineup that you and I went for in the members preview.
Yeah. No,
pretty
look,
much
I'm actually
1 through 11.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the lineup. Like I was saying in the members preview, I think the aim of the game of today is to go and create chances before you even think about scoring and go and create chances today. I think Spence over Doggy is important. I think Porro over at right back, despite his defensive vulnerabilities, gives you a lot of creativity. Sarr in the midfield brings you goals. Maddison can provide chances. And look, for me, the biggest thing is I expect them to be low block. But that's not Brennan Johnson's forte. But it is Udebert. So hopefully we see a massive performance from Udi Woody tonight. But look, let's go down the panel. Let's find out what their thoughts are and their score predictions. We'll start with you, Ribsy. I know you're a very, very busy man. It's early, so we'll start with you. We'll get your thoughts and your score predictions, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably as strong as we've got at the moment. I mean, you could make the argument about Udebert, obviously, whether, I don't know, you want Tell in there or even Johnson, I suppose, if you're nuts. But no, I think that that team's just about as strong as we've got available at the moment. Obviously, Romero and Van de Ven returning from injury, so hopefully they're both up for it. But I'm sure they'll both know that how important this one is for all the fans, and of course probably for Ange as well. Using Spence on the left instead of Udogie is maybe a slight surprise to some people, but Spence has been really effective on that left wing, on that left side. So I think that's the right choice because Udogie's form hasn't been quite as good as it maybe could be.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think we're going to get a good result here. I'm thinking that, well, we're already 1 down, so let's say 3-1 on
That's what I've
aggregate.
gone for.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Look, just on the Destiny and Dogie thing, just quickly, I do think that Jed Spence, Madison, and Son down that left-hand side, when they play together, is our best chance of ripping them open. I do think that's been our best sort of creativity down, in recent games that has come from that side. You go back to the Ipswich game, everything came down that side to a large degree. But Ribsy, I want to say a massive thank you to you, my man, giving up your time being here. Really appreciate it. I know you're a very, very busy man with a lot on your plate. So thank you very much, man. I really do appreciate that, lad. Jose, we'll get your thoughts on the lineup and we'll get your score prediction.
My thoughts on the lineup is very positive. The lineup he's gone with. I'm glad that Wasteman's not been put in there. I think that, in all honesty, Spence has played his best football off the left rather than the right. I'm still a bit dubious about Pedro Porro and the space that always seems to be found behind him. I hope he tightens up on that tonight. Romero and Van der Ven, it had to happen. Need them back. I think your team, when you got them two at the back, if they're firing and they're playing well at the back, it oozes confidence for the people further up the pitch. So your midfielders and your strikers. I'm not surprised that Johnson's not playing tonight. And it would have been a toss of a coin whether Odebert or Tell got a start tonight. I think Solanke and Son were always going to play. It's positive. There's a lot of energy in that team. If I'm looking at Odebert, Solanke, Son, Bergvall, Sarr, Spence, Porro, there's energy. Van der Ven. There's a lot of energy in that team as well. For me, look, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We are where we are at the moment. We're 1-0 down in the tie. I felt that when we played them the first time, we only won 1-0, but I thought, and that was with a lesser team, and I know football wasn't played on paper, but I think this lineup is much stronger than what it was in the first game that we won 1-0. And I thought we ripped them apart back then. Tonight, I can only see, if we're serious about what we want to do, then we got to go out and do a number tonight. So my prediction was 3-0 to Tottenham. I'm not going to give you goal scorers. I'm going for my clean sheet. I'm going 3-0 to Tottenham tonight. And now that Romero and Van der Ven are playing as well, there's no reason why young Troy Parrott can't get past. He won't be able to get past them two. So, yeah.
No, look, I do think that lineup gives us a chance tonight. I'm sort of excited to see it. I'm just glad Johnson's out of the team. Look, if anyone's wondering why maybe Tell's not on the team, there was Ali Gold did report this week that, I think yesterday's training session, severe lack of intensity from telling the drills and stuff like that. So, I was sort of expecting him not to play today, but I'm definitely excited to see Udebur. I just hope that maybe he can find that bit of devastating end product that we need. Hopefully he can come of age tonight. But guys, please get across, check out Jose, make sure you sub. He's trying to break the 900 subs, so please get over there and sub to him. There's 900 people still watching. He's only looking for 40 odds, so please get over there and check out El Tel Cockerel. And then last but not least, Donovan. Jose, really appreciate you giving up your time as well. I know you've got a family there and, it's an awkward time with dinner and stuff like that and, getting them out to their sports practices and stuff. So thank you very much, Jose. I really do appreciate that, my man. And last but not least, Donovan, what's your quick thoughts on the lineup and your score prediction, lad?
Yeah, big up to Jose and all the thoughts here for the lineup here.
Are you happy with it?
Honestly, lads, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I never thought I would see Romero and Van der Ven play together again.
Yeah, so it brings a tear to you to the eye.
Yeah, so it's very endearing. I echo exactly what Jose had to say there with the confidence that the back line could ooze into the midfield. I hope Sarr plays that position well, and I can see that you can hopefully play a game without conceding a goal. Like maybe you can actually play football without conceding a goal. Like that actually might be a realistic possibility. Hopefully, so hopefully today we can put that on show. And I went with one better than I went for 4-0. I'm thinking we're gonna go out and show it. We have way too much to show, especially at home too with the flashing lights in Europe. We know how Daniel Levy loves a show, and the players will be a feel good mentality back, and it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be papering over cracks, and much like they do in North America, they don't actually fix the roads. They just kind of like go out there and just put tar over the crack, and then next year it'll be another crack, and then it's no, don't be negative. It'll be a good game tonight. 4-0. Let's go.
4-0. Donovan's absolutely pumped for it. Look, I really hope it's 4-0. I wouldn't mind watching some sexy football tonight.
Yeah.
Really, that's for sure. Shawnee Maddox says, I'm the only one concerned midfield we ran straight through. Look, I do understand that sort of concern. I do understand that. I think Sarr, it's interesting to see whether Sarr Bergvall will be the deep line midfield. I think by that lineup, judging, it could end up being Papamata Sarr. But look, at the end of the day, Sean, I think tonight's a night where to a degree, you got to throw caution to the wind. You got to go for it. We can barely create chances in 90 minutes. So, we can't afford to sit back and take our time with it and pass it around and build up slowly. You just got to go for the jugular, go for the throat. You have to go for it. You got to throw caution to the wind. And at the end of the day, Bentancur is suspended, and I'm sorry, but Basuma's a clown. Honestly, you may as well send him off to Cirque du Soleil and put red shoes on the fucker. He's not good enough for Tottenham Hotspur. So for me, look, I understand what you're saying, but I think to a degree, will AZ sit in for the first while? And I think, look, I'm okay with it. I think it's a lineup that it's young, it's fresh, it's got plenty of energy, does have some creative ability in there. Let's see what we can do tonight. But look, I want to say a massive thank you to the panel, giving up their time from 5 to 7. It's not easy to do 2 hours of the day. Absolute legends. Thank you very much. And Drew as well on his lunch break earlier on. Massive thank you to Jack for being here as well. Also want to say a massive thank you to all of you guys at home. Over 900 in stream. Absolutely incredible. Really appreciate the support today. It shows how much Spurs are up for it. They questioned, will Spurs fans be up for it today? Well, once again, we've turned up. Now it's over to Ange Postecoglou, and now it's over to the players to deliver. So a massive thank you to you guys at home. And I also want to say a massive thank you to the people who have gone the extra mile.
Did we get to Sean's quickly, though? Did we answer Sean's?
Yeah, I just answered it there before a second
sorry.
ago. Yeah. Now, big up Adrian Chia, Faz Radfar, Super Spurs TV, THFC Till I Die, Artist T, and Shawnee Maddox as well. I really do appreciate the support, guys. Every little really does help us keep going and keep trying to improve. So look, guys, that's it. That's it from us. We'll be back here in half an hour's time. Get the watch along up and running. I'd love to see the same support there again. As always, come on, you fucking Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Get your dinner ready. Get the
Come
beer
on,
out.
Spurs.
Let's fucking have it.
Come on.
Let's go.